going on, guys? Vinny here, and on today's video we're going to talk about the 2011 that rules them all. In a world of 2011s, this is the one that rules them all for me, and we're going to go over this gun in particular because you guys wanted it. We're going to bring it to you, so stay tuned. Let's get into it. So I'm going to introduce you to my precious, okay? Precious! This is the gun, in my opinion, for me, okay? I know the title is very subjective, but to me, this is the best 2011 that you could get. And it's the best 2011 that I own. And there's a whole damn wall of them behind me, and scattered around me, all the other 2011s that I own, and this is the one that I go to. It is my STI 2019 Staccato P, also known as the 2019 P. This was a gun that STI built as they were transitioning over to Staccato. The Staccato name stuck, obviously. Whether or not that was a branding thing in the middle of the transition, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, this was the predecessor to all the other Staccato guns that we know and love today. This is a 4.15 inch 2011 that paved the way to the guns that we know and love today over at Staccato. And to me, this is the best performing 2011 that I own, and I think you could own if you decide to get one in this variation and do it up just like this or very similar. I think you might get one and be like, yo, Vinny was right. Because, guys, this combo right here, it's like peanut butter and jelly, okay? It's like beef and rice. It's the shit. So, kind of going into this gun, you guys saw it on my EDC video last week. This is my primary carry gun as well as just my favorite gun in general. And kind of where we landed here, how we got to this particular rendition of the 2019 P, my 2019 P, is... It was kind of, I needed a gun to test our integral compensator, the Genghis comp, back in the day when I first decided to switch over from our original chunk port on the 2011s, which this gun right here also, will do a video on this some other time, but this is the redone but original chunk port gun, right? The first time we ever did the chunk port was on this Staccato C2 back in like 2019, I think, like late 2019, 2020. Yeah. I think 2020, I have to go back and look, guys. My receipts are very, they're getting old. So we come up with this version, and I'm like, we start to listen to you guys. There's some refinements that we need to do, and we come up with the Genghis comp later on, okay? Like 2021, right? I got to go back through and find everything, but that sounds about right to me. So I actually went back to look to make sure, because I don't want to, like, say things that aren't true. But again, it's trying to recollect off of memory. But the original chunk port was done in 2020. October of 2020 is when I first posted about this gun in its raw form, shooting it, stuff like that. Super crude version of what we have now. And then in 2022 is when we officially released the Genghis comp to the public. That being said, it was definitely in R&D before that. So I'd have to dig even deeper, like on my phone with pictures and videos to see that. But I'm pretty much sure between 2021 and 2022 is when we were working out the details and the R&D for the Genghis comp, and then officially, showing to you guys in 2022. So just wanted to clear that up so that we don't have any miscommunication or misinformation out there. But again, back in, many years ago is when we started doing this, so I kind of want to clear that up and show you the receipts to prove it. So there you go. Now we start getting into needing a gun to test this on. We don't really have one, so my search goes on. The 2019 P is nothing new to me. I've seen them. I was helping sell them back in the day, and I liked the way that they looked, but they were starting to become hard to find then. So I reach out to the Instagram world, and I'm saying, hey, I'm looking for this. Someone reaches out, says, hey, I got one. Let's make a deal. So here we are. And this gun came to me, bone stock, old school, like tree bark grip. No optic, no nothing. It was an iron sight gun at the time. And we did our Genghis comp to it, okay? And to see kind of my brainchild come to life on a platform like this really kind of just like cemented it into the heart, right? This gun tugs on my heartstrings. This gun will never leave me. I will be buried with this gun or handed off to the family members. Even when this gun is not usable, I will put it in a shadow box and just admire it and find something to replace it. However, came to me stock, you know, put one of my grips on it. It was still a Gen 1 grip at the time and a magwell with the Genghis comp, and I didn't even Cerakote it, nothing. Straight to testing we went. Cut it for an optic, straight to testing we went. Okay, this gun has an unknown amount of rounds on it at this point. Initially, we tested this gun very vigorously with like 10,000 rounds in a very short amount of time, around, you know, like 2 to 3 months of testing, 10,000 rounds in succession. So quite a bit of shooting, honestly, on a gun like this. And then we probably threw another 2,000 to 3,000 rounds of hot hand-loaded ammunition through it to make sure that the comp would hold. I would venture to say, you know, that we were the first ones to do an integral style comp on the 2011. There were not very many shops working on these guns at the time. I think a lot of people did not see the price of entry being worth it, whether there be some sort of mishap or whatever on one of these guns. It's a lot of money to recoup if something goes wrong. So in my opinion, there were only really 2 big shops doing stuff back in the early 2020s time frame, and that was Vulcan Machine Works, our buddy Jeremy and the team over at Vulcan, and us, okay? And we do the Genghis comp, and I really don't see any versions of it floating around up until very recently. So I confidently say that. I have receipts. People in the comments below, you tell me what you think. But either way, the port style starts to become more famous as we're seeing. OEMs are doing it, things like that. But this is the original Genghis comp, the first one of its kind on this gun. So yes, it holds a very special place in my heart, again, like I said before. So a lot of rounds through it to test it to make sure it was going to be good to go, because again, we are actually milling a pocket into the barrel to create a mini expansion chamber to give it that compensation style feel. So at this point, you know, I don't know how many rounds I had on it when I got it, but you know, over 12 to 13,000 when we went to say, yes, this is good to go, and release it to the public, and came public with that. And then from there, I just didn't put the gun down, right? I loved it so much that I trained with it. I carried it. I got a lot of cool like patches and things with it, if that matters to you or not. 2 black belt patches from my dad over at Modern Samurai Project, Scott Jadlinski, love you, man. And then another one of our good industry buddies and peers and friends, Donovan Moore at Point One Tactics. I got his Elite Standards coin with this gun as well. On top of just competing normally with it from Appendix, OWB, training with it, whatever, this gun has seen a lot of bullets and a lot of rounds through the tube, which this is, again, ongoing R&D for me. I'm never going to stop shooting this until it either breaks or completely fails, and then I'll have a lot of very good data on this. So me being able to speak freely about this gun is pretty much like warranted, because I haven't put the gun down. Yes, I shoot other guns, but this one in particular, haven't put it down in a better part of like 3 to 4 years now. So what is done to this gun to make it the best gun ever, right?
This gun is the best gun ever. Oh.
So again, got it stock. This is the last and final probably rendition of this gun. There's nothing about this at the moment that I would change other than having to recode it at some point. What we did, obviously, the Genghis comp, the integral comp here, and then we cut it for the optic mount Trigicon plate. This plate is the plate that we prefer to use across the board when someone's trying to get an SRO or an RMR on a 1911 or 2011. It's a Trigicon product, so it's very well made. And to me, this looks more custom. It looks more melted to the gun. You know, some other places using plate kits and stuff like that, even like the DPO, just looks like it is attached to the gun, versus this looks like it is molded or a part of the gun. That backup sight for the plate itself just blends to the back of the gun extremely well, and then folds over with the skirts around the gun to just make it look extremely clean. And then that front sight matching with the set just kind of gives it that overall, to me, custom look. Threw an SRO on top. You guys know I love SROs. This is a 2.5 MOA. I hover between that 2.5 and 1 MOA dot size for the SRO. If I want something more refined, I can turn it down. If I need something bigger than 2.5, realistically, guys, you crank the dot up and it's like 5 MOA or more. So I can have that capability. I'd rather be able to have a nice refined dot. And if I need something bigger, I can crank the brightness up. So from there, everything else internally is stock. All of the accoutrements that the gun comes with, as far as the beaver tail and the thumb safeties, are stock. And the hammer strut, sear, disconnector, and sear spring are all stock as well. The only aftermarket thing that I did change is the trigger being an aluminum short Atlas trigger, and it's set to my liking. I have very little pre-travel, a defined wall, break, and an extremely short reset. So this trigger is set up optimal for me in the way that I shoot, right? The pull weight probably realistically is like 2.5 to 3 pounds without pulling a trigger gauge out and checking, but pretty sure that's about what I have it set at. A nice, comfortable, safe, weight. It's not too light, but it's not too heavy. With the 2011, 1911 trigger, as long as it's not like, 5 or 8 or 10 pounds, 4.5 to like that 2.5 is still like kind of not noticeable in my opinion, as long as the trigger's set up right, the trigger shoe is fitted well to the grip, and that post and pre-travel are taken out at its max, not bleeding edge, but like at its most optimal, performance, right? Like I said, with this gun having so many rounds on it, it's just so broken in. Like, yeah, it's a little bit looser than it was. I remember when I first got this gun, it was tight, but now I can wiggle it side to side and up and down a little bit. But like I said, if I had to guess, well over 30,000+ rounds on this gun, guys. Could it be rebuilt? Probably. I'll have to get with my buddy Nick over at Valor and come up with a plan for that if I want to do that. But part of me just wants to keep running it until it completely fails, assessing it then, fixing it if I have to, or again, putting it in a shadow box and admiring it and getting a new one to replace it. There are plenty of 4.15-inch variants nowadays that kind of have the same vibe, feeling, and overall recoil impulse, especially with the Genghis comp done to it. Like I said, guys, this has so many rounds through it that it just has like that fidget spinner, just super, like, listen to this, hold on. We're gonna get real intimate right now. Check this out, listen. Oh yeah. Yeah, you like that? Yeah, listen to this trigger. Oh my god, you feel that? You hear that pre-travel? Oh my god, yeah, okay, now. That reset. It just, there's something about it, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Don't come at me like that. It's just, it does something to me.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
So now kind of going into the lower half of the gun further, the grip on here is a C2 style grip. I prefer this grip across the board, honestly, on my 2011s, unless it's like a competition gun where I'm using the bigger magazines and a Mag 1, all that other stuff. Yeah, technically I could use the short grip, and I've never really tried that, but I kind of just default to the bigger grip on a comp gun or a bigger gun in general. But for like an everyday use, EDC, do-it-all gun, I prefer the C2 grip that this gun has on it. Now, again, when I first had this, I had a Gen 1 grip on it for initial testing, and then I moved over to a C2 grip because I carried a C2 at the time, and I really liked the C2 grip, and I really liked the C2 as a overall gun and size too. But I took a C2 grip and I heavily modified it. I ran it that way for quite a while, and I was kind of testing the grip as well as testing the gun at the same time, to then come to where we are now. So this C2 grip is heavily modified. Okay, it is, I call it my Vinny Barbarino grip, and it's heavily contoured. We trimmed a lot of fat off of this gun, gave it a nice little bobtail, cute little border on the bottom, and a mag scallop. Okay, kind of pushing the envelope on these grips as much as we can. I really like doing that. If I can find a way to make the grip better, I will, but at the same time, it's experimenting, right? So the first grip that we did was kind of way over the top, and just like I would never actually do this for a customer because it is extreme, and it also depends on the style or the generation of grip that comes through here. So this one is a little bit tamed back from that, and honestly it's better overall. So kind of beta grip to now here we are, final product. And again, bobbed, extremely contoured, and a little bit of a mag scallop, so I have more mag release button exposed by alleviating some of that material there. We did all this and kept all the structural integrity of the grip intact. I can squeeze it, still let the magazine fall out. Been using this grip for a while now, and I'm super happy with the way it feels and the way that it conceals and all that other stuff and kind of fits in my hand. The biggest reason I like the C2 grip is there's no space for my pinky finger to slide down to, right? My hand is choked up into the gun as high as it can be, and there's nowhere for it to really go. Once I get to the lip of the grip there, it kind of stops my fingers from going anywhere, and once I get that master grip, it's not going anywhere. Versus like this gun, again, a competition style gun with the Gen 2 full-size grip, the 140 millimeter magazines. I have some space here that I can potentially slip down on. You know, yeah, this kind of fills the gap there, but it feels weird because there's nothing there stopping it, right? It's just more of like a feeling thing for me than anything, but like I can tell that there's nothing there. So not a huge deal, but if I can choose again for this particular gun, I want that you know, more confined feel when I'm gripping the gun. I know exactly where my fingers are because, hey, that's the lip of the grip. This to me is indexing for the draw. Not that there's really anywhere for my hand to go, but I know like, hey, I'm in the right spot when I'm gripping this. With the amount of rounds that I have on it, again, this is like an extension of me, and I know that my hand's in the right spot. When I go to grip this gun, everything's locked in and it's not going anywhere. So typically in a carry scenario, I'm running the 120 millimeter 16 round mags on board, so flush, right? And then my spare mag is a 126 millimeter with a Berserker base pad on it. Instead of like your little hangout there with the, you know, 126, this has like a base plate look on it. It is specifically made for the C2 grip and can fill that gap, make it look aesthetically pleasing, as well as keep it from over inserting. Unfortunately, these base pads I do not believe are available anymore, as this company is no longer making them. So I love them. I'm sure there's other versions of it out there, but these two magazines are pretty much what I have for this gun on any given time. Normally in a competition setting, I will run this one to start, and I will have like my 26 rounder or something like that on board with me to reload if I'm doing that. So different kind of guns for different things. Normally for our Buckeye Shooting Center League matches that you've been seeing in the vlogs, this is the gun I've been running pretty much majority of this year or this season, and also ran prior to, and that's kind of the way I would do it. We have to reload anyway, so short mag, long mag after that, that's where I go. So the 120 to 126 millimeter magazines are what really ride in this. So the shootability of this gun, guys, why I think it's the ultimate is that shorter grip and that full dust cover and 415 length really balances the gun up well, okay? When you have a loaded mag in this thing, you can almost like balance it on your hand. It's so great. But in hand, it feels significant. Like the gun is heavy, not super heavy compared to other guns. It's heavy. It's got a steel slide, steel frame. The polymer grip obviously cuts down some weight, but it feels significant, but it's very nimble, and I can drive this gun, you know, I can drive the gun from target to target with transitions. You'll see in videos of me shooting this that I can just maneuver this thing extremely well. Some of you might be asking, hey Vinny, what about metal grips? I personally am not a huge fan of metal grips. However, there are a couple on the market that I like, and we'll discuss those in later videos. But to me, the 2011 was designed to have the plastic polymer grips, and you know, from a engineering standpoint, that polymer grip helps alleviate some of that shock coming from the gun. I can tell you for sure that a steel frame, whether steel or aluminum grip on a 2011 1911 is going to feel significantly different than a plastic grip. Depending on the recoil impulse, how the gun's made, it's not as extreme, but if you can imagine like taking an aluminum baseball bat and smacking it up against a pole, right? You feel that reverberation through the bat into your hands. Not as extreme again, you're not gonna like be hurting from it, but you can definitely feel that, right? And like normally you put a steel grip on like a competition gun or something like that. Those guns are comped and ported, so it's not as big of a deal and you won't really feel it as much. So I can definitely say that I feel a difference in recoil impulse versus a polymer grip and a metal grip gun. So guys, like I said, there are different variants of this around nowadays. This is something really cool that I just noticed, and I'm gonna show it to you here in a second. So this is the Platypus 1911 double stack 1911 that takes Glock mags, okay? This is a super cool gun, okay? We will be doing a separate video on this, but this is our T800 Terminator Platypus with the RCR on top. Genghis comp, because like that's my jam, we talked about it. But funny enough, I talked to Tim, whether or not this actually is why, but I said that the 415 is the perfect size. And guess what the Platypus Commander technically is? 415 inches. So I'm really excited to get more rounds down on this gun. This has the Genghis comp on it. It's pretty much the same style gun as this. It has the feel, the grip, everything just feels the same as the 2019 P. So I'm really looking forward to putting more ammo down this gun and seeing if the similarities are there. But it is lighter, being aluminum framed and all that other stuff. So again, my only concern is that metal grip. How much difference is that going to make in the overall feel of the gun? We'll see. I have shot this, but not enough to really have a good opinion on it yet. So look forward to doing a video on this, and it will be coming because the comparison between these two is uncanny. Same length barrel, same dust cover style, all the stuff. It's very similar. So I can tell you it's probably going to be very close to the 2019 P. So there are variants out there, other different variants out there that you could potentially get outside of the Staccato platform itself. So there you guys go. This 2019 P, again, I think is the 2011 that rules them all, at least for me anyway. Comment below what your, gun that rules them all is for you. Doesn't have to be a 2011, doesn't have to be a Staccato or anything like that, but I know for each and every one of you there is a gun, that one gun out of all the guns that you own that rules them all. And for me, this is the gun. Guys, this is the lightsaber, again, the one that I pick every day to do all the things and all the stuff. I'm glad you guys came along for the ride on this one. It's a very passionate subject of mine because this gun holds such a special place in my heart. I will be buried with this gun. So if you made it this far, we really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this entire video. If you haven't already, comment below something cool, like how you're feeling, because that's important. Hit the bell icon because that's important as well. A lot of you are not subscribed, so definitely subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next video.